This episode of Weapons of Meme Destruction is brought to you by Brainhead Notes.
Strictly from the brain head of David because he thinks he's got notes.
I've got notes in my brain's heads.
He doesn't have to write shit down because he members stuff.
I remember everything.
So, okay, you
couldn't have done this before we...
Before this even begins, I'm going to apologize prospectively for everything David's about to say on this episode. Because
retrospectively.
If our potential show banter that we were just discussing off air, thank God, is any indication of where his brain will go with this episode,
we might get canceled 15 in. This is episode 15, right?
This is it. This is the last episode of Weapons of Meme Destruction.
A whole 15 weeks. God damn. Could you even imagine when we started this out 5 years ago?
It'll be the 15 weeks of glory.
Yep.
You know, they'll write books about the 15 weeks that Dane and David were putting out content for all the...
You remember the Dane and David 15? Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
Be like, where were you when the Dane and David 15 kicked off?
I'll never forget where I was.
Yep. So, I think we're just ready to jump into this one now.
Want to light it off?
All right, let's light it off. So, episode 15 of Weapons of Meme Destruction is about some more...
It's groundbreaking, by the way. Can we mention that as groundbreaking? Because we're not attacking only one meme. But it's the second part of meme.
Well, it's where this...
Fuck, I wanted to do a dual meme.
It's not too novel.
Why you slap
this
my
is
speed
usually
bag,
where
man?
it goes. Something lights us off, and then by the end, we've talked about 15 different things.
Correct.
So it's going to happen again. It's okay.
Ugh.
So
I always like a little extra flavor in my taco.
Here's the tweet that I ran across, and
sour cream
and
lettuce.
Listen,
tomato.
When I see now, granted, I understand she's a famous person. I understand she has a bunch of followers.
I prefer steak to regular ground beef, but I will take, even a chicken taco. I mean, if the occasion calls for it, a fish taco.
I don't know if he's off the railing or if he's trying to riff on what I was just gonna say, but I'm gonna let him continue. David, finish.
I don't know. Let's have a poll on this one. I'm talking about taco assembly. The more toppings, the better. I'm not such a sour cream guy. However, I will admit that it's got a nice timbre to it. It adds a nice flavor to it, and that's a nice mouthfeel to the taco. But what I will say is that, would you prefer tomato or pico de gallo? And I'm not exactly... I think pico de gallo has onions in it. I think that's what makes it pico de gallo. And then maybe like a little
has
extra
onions in it. I don't think that's the big difference.
No, what I'm saying, tomatoes. Like, do you want tomatoes or pico de gallo? Pico de gallo. Am I saying that right? Am I putting it?
I mean, it depends on the dish.
I'm talking about a taco.
Like, we've already started the episode, so why are we now reverting back into pre-reel?
Because
or intro banter.
Because I wanted
the memes are coming here. They're like, listen, by episode 15, we thought these guys had it streamlined by now.
No, I wanted.
I
feel like this is
all over the place.
This is very important that we discuss this. That's a taco assembly. Just if you like this part, just twit. Is it called twittering? Tweet. Oh, you gotta tweet. Go Twitter.
You know what?
Your favorite assembly.
You have now excluded yourself from ever calling me old or anything ever again.
What are the kids doing nowadays? Docking? Is that what it's called?
You can't. All right. So.
All right. Let's
now that we understand how any memes that want to send David a care package of tacos, we now know how he wants it. Let's get into something substantive.
Woo!
So, as I was saying before David's taco creation adventure there.
Taco fever.
Let me just first say that...
Taco takeover. There we go. That's it. That's what I had. I had a taco takeover. Go ahead.
It's good. We're all very proud of you. Listen, I get she's famous. She's a blue check mark. She's a celebrity, so she's going to have a lot of engagement on her tweets.
She's charmed, so to speak.
The fact that that nearly 15 at the time that I took the screenshot, 15,000 people had commented on this meme. It had almost 5,500 shares and 35,000 likes. Like, come on. There's nothing. Whatever. Here's the meme.
Dane loves
I see that stuff and I weep for society. So, Alyssa Milano, which I know what most of the memes are saying, wow, low-hanging fruit. You really went for one of the one from the bottom of the loony bin.
The bright,
for this
shining
one.
futures.
But, I think what she's saying in this meme is, or what she's saying in this tweet, is a meme that's widely held by a lot of the American electorate, and it's sad. So, here's what she says, and I quote, "I'm honestly not sure why anyone would be a Republican. Hashtag, I am a Democrat because I believe in love." That's it. Nice, short, and sweet tweet. So basically, I don't talk to anybody that's Republican because I don't even want to try to understand why they're Republican. She does have a pair of really sweet tweets. I'm all about love. And the way my brain works with logic is if I'm love, and I've already decided that they're not, then that means they're...
What's the opposite of love?
I guess hate, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a lot of different iterations of love, but I guess...
Agape.
Yeah.
The other ones.
I knew you were going to say that. So that's the meme we want to talk about. So, and we're not going to get into the whole, Democrats just think they're holy and everybody else is bad and all that kind of stuff, because we've addressed that in other episodes.
We do need to start picking on the Republicans a little bit more. But the Dems just make it so easy.
Listen, if you don't know why,
a whole episode.
Go back and listen to episode 3.
It's the third one.
Yes, and
where you been at?
We explain why.
And stop cutting corners. You'll never get ahead in life.
But listen, don't act like, don't come into the well, you know what? Come into the comments on this episode and light us up for whatever you want. We don't care. But don't come into the comment section pretending.
At least tell me that
you don't see this everywhere in society.
At least tell me I'm pretty before you start lambasting me for being stupid. Okay?
Yeah, he needs his ego stroked before you tear him down.
It's not all I need stroked, but that's not the point. The point is that Alyssa Milano, correct?
Yes.
Because it's fucked up because the last name starts with the M, so it makes me want to call her Melissa Milano. It's like a tick, so I have this Alyssa Milano. Okay. So yes, she hasn't been a part of mainstream culture for a while, right?
Well, no. She's definitely reinvented herself from the actress to now she's like, the political exhibitionist. She went to the Kavanaugh hearings, for the Supreme Court.
Fuck me.
She was there, making a stink, making sure she was all over the cameras and all that kind of stuff. So she has reinvented herself into a political activist.
Right. Which is what I'm trying to make that a verb now. Can we make that into political things, Kaepernicking?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, whatever. That's neither here nor there. She honestly holds these opinions that she believes strongly in, and she has the money and time to go advocate for them. Good on her for that. But this idea that I don't understand why anybody can become a Republican. My guess, I'm going way out on a limb with this one. My guess is she probably hasn't talked to a lot of people, let alone a diverse range of people who have self-identified as Republican. Would you concur with that?
Oh, she probably
does.
Think
that's a possibility?
But she probably does it through the social stratosphere of the internet, number one. And number two, let's not skip to the 2 before we finish the 1. That's not the best stratosphere to engage anybody ever having a conversation because, like you say, eye contact, personal body language, all these things come into play when you're having a conversation. But on the internet, you're completely anonymous. You can say whatever you want, which means that all of your points don't really hit home. It's a poor way to have any kind of conversation. So whatever she might have with the other side would be completely skewed.
In person, online, I don't really care so much. Like, even if it was solely online at this point, at least it would be nice to know that she was trying. But I think that a more honest version of what she said would be not that she's not sure why anyone would be a Republican. What would be a more honest phrase, I think, from her perspective, would be, I don't care to know
Well,
why
she's
anybody
also
would be a Republican.
she's also just putting that out there as like a form of what's it called, virtue signaling.
Yeah.
Like you're obviously
that's the second clause for sure. Absolutely.
You're not you're putting something out there that's steeped in like jerking yourself off while shitting on the other side to let everyone know that you're amazing. Like that's who are you trying to contact with this? Like all the lefties are gonna go, they're absolutely right. She's absolutely right. She's absolutely right. We're the ones that have compassion. We're the ones that have this, that, and the other.
Yeah, it's as
like,
if it's a.
And then the Republicans are like, yeah, that's the shit that we're always talking about, right there. That's that shit.
Yeah, it's like it's a self-actualized statement. Like as soon as you utter the statement, it's automatically truth, regardless of any type of critical thinking that goes
right,
into
because
it
the
at
people
all.
that agree with you are right, and the
Right.
people that don't agree with you are the ones that are wrong.
Which, not to retread this ground, because I did spend a lot of time talking about this Manichaean thing where like everybody on my side is holy and everybody on the other side is evil. Definitely go back and listen to that episode. But, this idea of break your arm, patting yourself on the back leads you to make some decisions that I think if you looked at in the abstract and you took the names away, and like an example I'll say of this is like there's political people on both ends of the spectrum. So for example, like a pro-Republican person will go out
That's a hell of an alliteration.
A pro-Republican person?
There you go.
Okay. So for example, and again, both
pro-Republican people person.
Yeah. Both sides do it. So like I'll see these videos from time to time where like a pro-Republican will go out into a park and they'll ask people, they'll read Biden quotes, but they'll make it seem like Trump said them and get people's reaction. Like people that self-identify as Democrats, they'll be like, that's terrible, he's da-da-da-da. And then, they tell them at the end, well, this is a Biden quote. And they're like, oh yeah, well that's bad, but we got to get Trump out of office. Well, and it's the same thing. So a Democrat will go out and they'll make some stupid statement. Well, they did it with Kamala Harris,
who we're supposed to tie into this episode too.
That's
so
where I was going.
They were shitting on Trump, or they were shitting on Tucker Carlson just this week for saying that he's racist because he mispronounced her name as Kamala. And then they're like, how he's so racist because he couldn't even take the time to realize how to say her name correctly. And then it cuts to Joe Biden saying Kamala.
Listen, I have a personal thing to interject about this.
Go ahead.
Hey, as you all know, my name is Dane.
Let's get personal.
Okay?
Danye.
It is spelled Dane. Okay? Not a whole lot of letters there. So from somebody's perspective who doesn't know me, I'm going to go down the list of possible pronunciations
Wait, hold
of my
on.
name.
Why are you going with that one? Why wouldn't you go with... Oh, yeah, that's right, because we can't go last names.
Duh. And why would I make it more complicated? I'm trying to say...
because we got some killer pronunciation.
I'm trying to say that my name is much simpler to say than Kamala.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
And yet...
There's
I can count for you the number of times on one hand in my entire life that a stranger has said my name right the first time, even when seeing it spelled. I get Dan. I have heard Danye. I get Dan. I get Danny a lot. Again, those aren't unreasonable pronunciations, but my first thought isn't racism.
You know what we should put in the show notes?
How pathetic of a person do you have to be if someone pronounces your name, your first thought is, well, they must be racist.
Well, hold on. We should put in the show notes is the Key and Peele skit. The Jay Quellen, are you here?
Yes.
Yeah, we need to put that in the show notes. But what I'm saying is there's also, and I was trying to get this before you did your whole thing, and you played the Oscars. It's time to get off the stage notes to me.
I got the cane.
Yeah,
yanking you by the neck off the stage.
there's no apostrophes, there's no accents in your name. There's nothing to tell them that anything else than how it looks like it should be said is how it should be said. Yeah. Nothing to throw them off. There's no commas or apostrophes or anything.
Nothing. So I mean, for someone to their first reaction to be like, you mispronounced my name, therefore you're racist. Like, and again, their whole argument was, oh well, she's somebody in the public sphere, and he's heard 1,000 people say her name a certain way, and da da da. People misspeak.
Okay.
Just take the race card out of it from time to time.
Why does it always got to go there first? Why can't you just be like, oh, I made a mistake? Like, okay, we get it. Like,
oh, but here's the funniest thing, and maybe you were getting there.
I already said the Biden thing did it. If that's where you're going, you didn't listen to me.
When he did a follow-up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. He was standing at a podium, and he calls her Kamala. I was like, what are you doing, Biden?
Hold on. Not just any podium.
Yeah.
The podium where he was for the first time introducing her as his running mate.
Of course. My sweet little senilic president. Like, holy fuck. What day is it? Where am I? Am I in Boca Raton?
Let's get to the second part of the tweet. That part about, I am a Democrat because I believe in love. We're just gonna raise and dismiss to set aside this idea that everybody who's not a Democrat doesn't believe in love. Like, that's not even worth.
We're skipping over something that we need to address later. Is that you don't listen to me? We'll discuss that in therapy this Wednesday. Okay. I'm bringing that up to my therapist. He's not listening to me again. He just
hold on. I was just getting ready to open the door.
I'm opening myself up, not just the door, Dane. Okay.
Go ahead. So, because she and anybody that holds this attitude thinks that because they're Democrat, they're automatically believe in love. Maybe they're more likely to look the other way when somebody like Kamala Harris, with her atrocious prosecutorial record, is their vice president. And they're like, yeah, well, at the end of the day, she's still a Democrat. David, go. You had plenty to say about this. It's bad.
I want to thank the Academy, first of all. No, I don't. Again, I'm not the most educated in this. I haven't gone through a myriad of different cases that she's had and reviewed all of her reports and so on and so forth. But I will say that if what you were looking to prove to everybody was that you're the party of compassion and you're the party of love and understanding and acceptance, then why would you pick a prosecutor ever for your political party? Because they have to come from a holier-than-thou position to do the job, first of all, and they have to be completely disavowed of anything of feeling of remorse, of empathy, of standing in another person's or walking a mile in another person's shoes for one moment. Let's call a prosecutor what a prosecutor is. They're an MLB batter. They want to get as many wins, they want to get as many hits as they possibly can to prove how good they are at their job. They don't care how they get it, they don't care how ugly it is, and they don't care how they have to, kind of hold somebody down to another standard. If you're accused, you're guilty, period. Which is the opposite of... What does it say in the Constitution? You're the constitutional guy. What does it say in the Constitution? What was it supposed to say?
Well,
I'm throwing you the biggest lead of your... I'm leading you right at...
I mean, it doesn't say innocent until proven guilty, but,
that's the assumption,
have a presumption of innocence.
Exactly.
Yes.
There's a presumption of innocence.
Right.
There's no such thing as a presumption of innocence with the prosecutor. They're all like, oh, I'm going to look at the evidence, and if he seems like a good boy, maybe we won't push it.
Well, but, and do you want to tie what I think what you're saying there back in with Alyssa Milano's thing is, okay, if we had Alyssa Milano in the studio right now, here's what I would ask her.
Do you call this a studio?
I would say, first of all, anybody that looked around me,
this cardboard box is not a studio, my friend. I hate to break it to you.
I would ask this. I would say, so, Miss Milano, is
The hobos next to us are asking us to move because we're putting out a bad vibe.
is intentionally withholding evidence to get a conviction. Is that your definition of love? Or how about when you find out that somebody was wrongly convicted, whether because this evidence was withheld or other exonerating evidence came out later, you fought to keep that conviction? Is that your definition of love? Or what about locking people up and throwing them in cages for years in some cases for nonviolent simple possession offenses of a drug which you claim to have used and laughed about by the time, and I think the quote was when she was on the Breakfast Club, they said, "When were you doing it?" And she said she was listening to Tupac and Biggie albums. So that's, early to mid 90s.
She's so hardcore.
When marijuana was still illegal in California, yet she's laughing about having it at the same time locking other people. Or what about the time when she implied, when she was asked about why should, these people stay in California prisons, and she alluded to the fact that, California needed the cheap labor. Is that her definition of love? So, I would just go down every single one of these things, and I would say, if this is your definition of love, and this is the person who's second in line as the spokesperson for your party.
Let's be honest.
Whoever's
got a real chance of being president.
Whoever gets elected. Well, okay, I'm just going to say from the outset, though, second in line. Whoever is elected from whichever party, they are essentially the figurehead of not just the country, but also of their party. They're the spokesperson. They're the standard bearer for what that party is supposed to be about. And without even getting into Biden's record of him being integral to passing much of the criminal justice laws that have destroyed lives all over this country, but Kamala Harris being on the front lines of actually putting those laws into practice, those are the two people who people of your particular political persuasion have for the past 4.5, 5 months, basically since George Floyd was killed, have been rioting to say these are the things that are wrong. This is why the criminal justice system is systemically racist. And these two people are, if not the most quintessential examples of the way that system has impacted the communities that you allegedly care about. And yet, because they're Democrats, they're all about love.
Well, it's
like this it doesn't jive.
Like it feels like you're talking down to me. It feels like you're placating me. Like, if you're doing this, be honest with me. Let's call a fucking spade a spade. She was the most woke decision for a vice president that they could have possibly made in this time period. They think that they're going to outsmart people by choosing the black woman, the only black woman that was,
well, she's
passable.
Black and she's a woman and she's Southeast Asian, Indian,
whatever.
And she's
okay. So she's ethnically, she's ethnically
she checks
not white.
She's
checking all the woke boxes you want to see. So yes, on the surface, it seems like he's making the most woke choice. Which, guess what, dude? I don't care what color you are. I'd argue that you choosing her is a racist act. Because you chose her not because of what she's done, not because of her track record, but because of what she looks like. She's a female ethnicity. She's an ethnic female. So that you can reach out and get more votes? That doesn't make any sense to me. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me that she was the most reasonable one. There was tons of other reasonable ones.
But even if they do, the point is you can't then backtrack and say that we did it out of love.
Right.
Because again, they might even say that. I mean, they might say, well, historically.
It's time. It's time for it to be
historically,
here. Right.
Women haven't got their chance to be powerful in that office.
Correct.
And especially women of color and et cetera, et cetera. So they would say, well, that's an act of love to give. My favorite thing that they always say is, well, this allows, little girls of color to look up to
Sam. Well, they shouldn't be looking up to her at all because you shouldn't want to be like her.
Fine. I would give them all of that and say, listen,
aspire for the position, but not her.
If that gives somebody hope, great. Fine, whatever. However, just because you do that does not give you a pass on all of the things that she's done to get there.
Right.
And let's not pretend that her lock them up and throw away the key mentality as a prosecutor wasn't aimed at exactly where she's gotten.
Right.
So regardless of what gender you are and what color you are and what nationality and race
you should not want
and
to
religion,
be like her.
if
Period.
you have to do that to get a quote unquote respected office of power,
aren't all those things
maybe that's not worth
stepping
it.
on people's heads, like a cutthroat mentality? Aren't all those viewed as toxic masculine traits? Wouldn't Gillette have you believe that?
Oh, you bet it. You bet so. I mean, I don't know what Mike Pence did before his political career, but again, just putting 1-to-1 as the VP. Old white male. Let's say he was a prosecutor.
Let's just say
he did all of the same things Kamala Harris did. People would say, again, these people on the left side of the spectrum who are all about love all the time would say, he's the example of white supremacy and, the systemic racism in the system because he used black and brown bodies to be thrown in cages to gain power to get to where he is, and that's terrible and yada, yada, yada. And we would sit there all day and agree with them. But yet if we disagree with them now about Kamala Harris and say, I don't think it's so good because look what she did to get there.
Bow tie wearing racists.
Yeah, we are now racists, or we are now whatever else you want to call us.
Despite the fact that I bet you money, and I haven't done the proper research, and I'll admit that now, but she probably threw some of her own brethren in there into the jail system. She sold out. I mean, I don't know. Can you say Uncle Tom nowadays? Like she sold her own kind down the river and smiled and advanced her career doing so. Well, that should be
I'll caveat by saying she probably cared less about whether they were black, white, or whatever. If she could get a conviction, which made her record look better.
Again, I'm not saying, but
which gives her more power.
Again, but if you can weaponize it for the right, you have to be able to weaponize it for the left too. That's what I'm saying. So she either turncoated or didn't. Period.
Yes. Well, bringing it back to Alyssa Milano's point is, I don't think that anybody looking at that objectively that isn't completely blinded by the team sport aspect of
politics. Nowadays, no.
And that anybody that's blue who does anything is good, or at least the
had
ends,
good intentions.
The ends justify the means.
Right.
While the red is just like Satan incarnate, and vice versa. Like this is why 2/3 of the American electorate, people that are eligible to vote, why they don't, is this behavior exactly. And I don't blame them. They are turned off by this. They see their friends that are like pro-blue, like go Biden, Kamala, and their friends that are right, Trump and Pence till the day I die. They see their friends do this and they look at it and they're like, well, I'm apathetic, so I'm not particularly invested in who wins this election one way or another. But isn't it kind of fucked up that you criticize this side for doing it all the time, but when your side does it, you're the party of love?
But
like that's why
you're just uneducated.
This is why most people aren't voting. You're just uneducated,
Dan. You don't understand. You haven't done what studies say that you're right and that I'm wrong. Oh well, that study. Oh, where is it from? Oh, it's another study that's not affiliated with us. Well, then you're wrong. That's fake news, or you're misinformed. You didn't do the proper research. Why don't you go back and study it? Like, no, I can look right there and say that she's done these things, and then also as the DA, she also stood in the way of known people that were innocent, that were wrongly convicted. She wouldn't let them retry it, and she would actually block them from certain avenues to prove their innocence.
Right.
DNA tests and so on and so forth.
Because she wanted the win.
Because she still wanted to maintain that win. Like, that is fucking... Okay, so let's just say this was sport, and your favorite sporting team got cheated. What would you want to have happen? You would want an investigation. You'd want... What was it? Spygate. You would want... What was another one that the Patriots did? Another gate. There's always gates. There was Spygate, Deflategate, whatever. However, we get so enthralled into sports and getting cheated, that now we've mutated that over to politics and see the same thing in politics now that we do in sport. It's my team. My team should win all the time, and if they don't, they were cheated.
I mean, look at, again, to continue on with your sport thing. Still to this day, Pete Rose, for not even cheating on I guess kind of cheating. He was betting on baseball games that he would not.
But he
was
bet to
playing
win.
in.
He was bet to win.
He was
right?
betting on his team to win.
Yeah, I mean, that's a double whammy. Yeah. It's not like he's going out there and throwing the game.
He's a pariah. He's still not allowed in the Hall of Fame now. Barry Bonds is still a pariah. All of these, the Patriots, again, no love lost here from your co-hosts. We're not Patriots fans. But, a lot of their stuff, people will say, well, that should have an asterisk behind it because they were cheating. The culture, the society, turns on athletes, which let's just really, really break it down.
Right.
If an athlete cheats, if you're a fan of the teams, your team got robbed of a championship, you're mad about that, whatever. But really, at the end of the day, what kind of effect on your life, unless you were betting, does an athlete cheating have anything to do with your life? None. Versus, what can an overzealous prosecutor do to your life if you happen to be in front of them? What can a president? Well, let's ask Alyssa Milano and the left.
See, you're starting to do it now too.
You did it to me. Let's ask Alyssa Milano what she thinks. What kind of destruction Trump can do with the Oval Office? So, it's amazing to me how this society and this culture will lose their minds over athletes cheating in a sport. And yet, when politicians do grimy stuff to get power over the lives of 320 million people,
or maintain power, or press them down further to make sure that
it's
they
amazing
have more
to me
power.
the excuses that are made for that.
It's weird.
Why? And this goes to.
It's this weird emotional reaction where it's like, if they did it for my team, I'm okay with it, even though it means the end of my life. But if the other side does something that actually benefits my life, I have to find something wrong with it or something innately wrong with them. Again, going back to the Alyssa Milano thing, she's virtue signaling by saying that she's a Democrat. And she's equating being a Democrat to being one of understanding and compassion and love. But everything that the Democratic Party has put out, they've had 4 years. If they've had 4 fucking years of just trying to indict this motherfucker. We have to get him out of the office because he's Satan incarnate. And your silver bullet to this werewolf of a president that you guys keep saying that he is Joe Biden, who's, and I'm not going to go out on a limb here, whose mental faculties, take 2, mental faculties are questionable at best, who chose a prosecutor whose record is spotty at best. And you want those two to challenge your werewolf in an end-all be-all for America's soul. Here we go. Let's see what happens. I'm thinking another 4 more years. And I hope you Democrats are ready for that shit. But also, if that shit happens, it gets overturned and we do go with the dick of a prosecutor and the best vice president that we've ever had. Because of the memes, I'm very excited for the meme game if Biden wins. That's the only positive I can take out of this election, is that finally memes will come back and be restored to their former glory when he was vice president. So there is some hope, America. America, there's hope. And with that, I yield the rest of my time for the sign-outs and go follow us this and all the business stuff that we have to add on to all the other stuff. Maybe Dane's had his coronary. He hasn't responded yet. I think he's still breathing. Okay, he's moving. All right,
I'm fine. I'm calm. I'm calmer than you are.
Waving the fucking gun around? He's got a gun, ladies and gentlemen.
But come check us out, wmdpodcast.com/15. come in the show notes page. Tell me about.
Don't
Tell us about everything.
Don't come in the show notes page.